No hierarchy, no categories, just humans. Dinner: roast chicken, potatoes, gravy, green beans, bread, pie. Brandt hadn't seen a family meal since 1941. Conversation was slow. Broken English, broken German, gestures, smiles, pauses, laughter. Caldwell's son asked Brandt, "Do you have family?" Brandt said, "Mother, brother." "Where?" "Germany." "Are they safe?" Brandt paused. "I don't know." Silence. Respectful silence. Not awkward, not tense. Human. After dinner, Caldwell showed them his garage. Tools on walls, workbench, wood shavings, projects half finished. A normal man's world. Brandt stood there and felt something crack inside him. This wasn't a battlefield. This wasn't a camp. This wasn't captivity. This was domestic life, peaceful life, civilian life. He realized something terrifying. The war narrative doesn't survive proximity. You can hate an enemy at a distance. You can fear a symbol. You can dehumanize a uniform. But you cannot easily hate a man who pours you coffee in his kitchen. On the ride back to camp, no one spoke. The silence was heavy, uncomfortable, confusing. One prisoner finally said, "If my father saw this, he would think we betrayed Germany." Another answered, "If my mother saw this, she'd think we survived." Brandt lay on his bunk that night, staring at the ceiling, thinking, what am I now? Not a soldier, not a civilian, not a prisoner, not free. Something in between, something undefined. The invitations didn't stop. Farm families, mill supervisors, church groups, community dinners, work celebrations, always approved, always supervised, always legal. The system allowed it, encouraged it, because integration reduced resistance, humanization reduces violence, connection prevents rebellion. Brandt understood the deeper strategy. This wasn't containment. This was assimilation, not into citizenship, not into nationality, but into function, labor roles, social roles, community roles. German soldiers were being absorbed into American civilian infrastructure, not as Germans, not as prisoners, but as workers. One night, Weiss said quietly, "They're not keeping us until the war ends." Pause. They're deciding who they keep after. Brandt felt cold, because the scariest truth wasn't that the camp was humane. It was that it was selective. Good workers equals privileges. Adaptable minds equals education. Compliant behavior equals integration. Resistance equals isolation. Noncompliance equals restriction. The system filtered men, not by ideology, not by belief, but by utility. And Brandt realized this camp wasn't just managing prisoners. It was sorting futures. Some men would go home. Some men would disappear back into Europe. Some men would never leave America. Not as prisoners, not as refugees, but as labor. And no one would ever call it immigration. The first letter arrived in a Red Cross envelope. Thin paper, foreign stamps, German handwriting. Brandt stared at it for a full minute before opening it, because letters from home were dangerous. They didn't bring comfort. They brought reality. The letter was from his mother, written in pencil, short sentences, careful words. "We are alive. Bremen is damaged. Food is limited. Your brother is working. Air raids are frequent. Do not worry about us. Stay safe. No emotion, no complaints. no fear. German restraint, German discipline, German protection of the son. Brandt folded the letter and put it in his pocket. He finished his work shift in silence. That night, the camp library posted newspapers, American papers, British papers, maps, photos, headlines. Allied advance continues. German cities under heavy bombardment. Industrial regions destroyed. Brandt stood in front of a map of Germany. Black dots, red zones, bombing zones. He saw Bremen, marked. Weiss stood next to him. Didn't speak. Didn't need to. The next weeks changed everything. More letters arrived. Not just to Brandt, to everyone. Stories of destroyed homes, killed parents, missing brothers, burned streets, food lines, refugees, displacement, mass graves. It began to break, quietly, privately. Not screaming, not protesting, just silence, staring, withdrawal. At the same time, they were eating full meals, sleeping in warm beds, earning pay, learning English, working stable jobs, drinking coffee, buying cigarettes, reading books. The contrast became unbearable. Survival guilt, moral contradiction, psychological fracture. Brandt wrote in his notebook, "My body is safe. My family is not. My stomach is full. My city is starving. My bed is warm. My home is ash." Some prisoners stopped eating. Some started drinking. Some isolated themselves. Some became angry. Some became obedient. Some became numb. Weiss said, "The war didn't follow us here." Pause. "But it caught us anyway." Then the news came. Berlin encircled. Industry collapsing. Rail lines destroyed. Fuel shortages. Military retreat. Germany was losing. Clearly, irreversibly. The psychological effect was devastating, because identity collapsed with the homeland. If Germany falls, what are we? Brandt felt something inside him detach. Not loyalty, not patriotism, but belonging. The idea of home stopped feeling real. Then another letter arrived. Different handwriting. Not his mother, his aunt. Short, direct, cold. "Your mother was killed in the March air raid. The house is gone. Your brother survived. He is with us. We have no address for you. I hope this reaches you." Brandt read it once, then again, then folded it. Put it in his locker. Didn't cry, didn't speak. Didn't react. Grief doesn't always explode. Sometimes it shuts down systems. That night, Brandt didn't go to dinner. Didn't go to class. Didn't go to recreation. He sat on his bunk in the dark. The irony crushed him. American bombs killed his mother. American hands fed him. American houses sheltered him. American systems kept him alive. Moral contradiction. No resolution. No justice. No logic. Weiss sat next to him. Didn't speak. Just presence. Days passed. Work continued. Life continued. Routine continued. The system didn't stop for grief. And that was part of its power. Routine stabilizes trauma. Structure contains chaos. Brandt went back to work. Back to the sawmill. Back to stacking lumber. Back to English class. Back to routine. But something had changed. He no longer thought about Germany as a future, only as a memory. One night, Weiss said, "If they send us back," pause, "there is nothing to return to." Brandt understood. The idea of repatriation became terrifying, not comforting, not hopeful, not patriotic, but frightening. Because survival had rewired him. Stability had rewired him. Routine had rewired him. Safety had rewired him. And America had become not home, but habitable. The siren sounded at 7 a.m., not the normal morning call, longer, sustained, different. Every prisoner knew something had happened. They assembled in the yard. Full formation, all units, all barracks. The camp command staff stood on the platform, serious, formal, no routine tone, no calm logistics voice. History voice. The translator spoke. Germany has surrendered. The war in Europe is over. Silence. No cheering, no shouting, no celebration, no collapse. Just silence. Some men cried. Some men sat down. Some men stared forward. Some men smiled. Some men looked lost. Brandt felt nothing. Then, the next sentence, repatriation will begin in phases. The word hit harder than surrender. Repatriation. Going home. The officer continued. Transfers will begin within months. Priority, wounded, families, non-working units. Others will follow. Brandt understood immediately. He would not be early. He was healthy. He was productive. He was trained. He was skilled. He was useful. Then the sentence that changed everything. Applications for residency may be submitted. Review is not guaranteed. Approval is selective. A whisper spread through the formation. Residency. Not parole. Not release. Not transfer. Residency. The camp wasn't just a camp. It was a filter. That afternoon, notices appeared in the admin building. Forms, documents, applications, English, German, rules, conditions, requirements, criteria, skilled labor, good behavior, no escape attempts, no disciplinary actions, stable work history, psychological evaluation, medical clearance. This wasn't mercy. It was selection. Brandt held the form, paper thin but heavy. If he applied, he would not go back to Germany. He would not see Bremen. He would not rebuild his home. He would not bury his mother. He would not live in his language. He would not belong to his culture. If he didn't, he would go back to ruins. Food shortages, displacement, unemployment, chaos, poverty, instability. Weiss said quietly, "This isn't freedom." Pause. "This is a fork." Brandt walked to the sawmill, worked all day, didn't speak, didn't think, just moved. That night, he went to English class. The teacher was crying. Her brother had died in France. She still showed up, still taught, still worked. Human systems don't stop for grief. They absorb it. Brandt went back to his bunk, opened his locker, took out his mother's last letter, read it. Then the second letter. He realized something brutal. Germany existed now only as memory. America existed as infrastructure. One was emotional, one was physical. Survival chooses infrastructure, not nostalgia. Weiss submitted his application. No hesitation, no drama, no speeches, just walked in, signed, submitted. Brandt waited 3 days, then 5, then a week. On the 7th day, he went to the admin building, picked up the pen, paused. He didn't think about loyalty. He didn't think about betrayal. He didn't think about ideology. He thought about beds, food, work, structure, stability, routine, safety, and he signed. The paper slid into the file, stamped, filed, stored. Nothing dramatic happened. No announcement, no reaction, no ceremony, just paperwork. Weeks passed. Men were transferred out. Transport trucks, lists, names, groups, faces leaving. Some men hugged, some men cried, some men looked relieved, some men looked terrified. Brandt stayed. Weiss stayed. The skilled stayed. The integrated stayed. The useful stayed. One morning, Brandt's name was called. Not for transfer, for admin. The officer handed him a document. Stamped. Signed. Official. Application approved. Resident status authorization. Brandt didn't smile, didn't celebrate, didn't react. He felt weightless, like falling. Weiss received his approval the same day. They didn't speak. They just nodded. They were no longer prisoners. Not civilians, not citizens, not immigrants, not refugees. They were assets. The camp began releasing approved men, not in groups, individually, quietly. No announcements, no publicity, no ceremonies. Brandt's release date, August 18, 1945. The date felt unreal. He walked through Altoona that day, saw shops, cars, people. Houses, children, life. Not as a prisoner, not as a soldier, not as an enemy, as a worker. On August 18, 1945, Lucas Brandt walked out of Camp Reynolds alone. No convoy, no ceremony, no announcement, no flag, no witnesses. No one clapped, no one watched, no one cared. History didn't record it. The gate opened, he walked out, and the camp closed behind him. No uniform, no markings, no badge. Just a small duffel bag. Inside, 2 work shirts, 1 pair of pants, boots, toiletries, a notebook, 2 letters, a work permit, residency papers. That was his entire life. A civilian truck waited outside. Not military, not government, private. The sawmill foreman, Mr. Caldwell. He leaned out the window and said, "Hop in." They drove into town, past the same houses, past the same stores, past the same streets. But this time, no fence, no guards, no watchtowers, no escort. Brandt entered Altoona as a civilian, not legally American, not legally German, not legally anything, just present. Caldwell dropped him at a boarding house. $6 a week. Small room, bed, sink, window, chair. No bars, no locks, no rules, no roll calls, no curfews, no sirens. Brandt sat on the bed, stared at the wall, listened. Silence. For the first time in 3 years, no one controlled his schedule. He started work the next morning. Same sawmill, same job, same yard, same tools, same men. But now, no guards, no passes, no escort, just employment. No one treated him differently. No one made speeches. No one asked questions. No one demanded explanations. That's how assimilation works. Not with celebration, but with indifference. Brandt became invisible. He ate at diners, paid for food, bought coffee, bought cigarettes, rented a room, worked, slept, repeated. He wasn't a former POW. He wasn't a former soldier. He wasn't a former enemy. He was just a worker with an accent. Weiss moved to a farm town north of Altoona. They wrote letters, simple letters. Work, weather, money, health, no war talk, no ideology, no politics. Brandt stopped dreaming in German. Months passed. Then a year. Then 2. He learned the systems. Bank accounts, rent contracts, pay slips, taxes, bus routes, street names. Infrastructure replaces identity. In 1948, he moved into a small apartment. Kitchen, bathroom, radio, table. He started saving money. Not for Germany, for stability. He sent money to his brother through the Red Cross. Letters came back. The brother was alive. Working. Studying, rebuilding, surviving. Brandt felt relief, not guilt. In 1950, he took the citizenship test. English, history, law, civics. He passed. At the courthouse, he raised his hand. Took the oath. No music, no crowd, no ceremony, just paperwork. He became an American citizen. Quietly. No one from Germany knew. No one from America cared. That's how absorption works. Not with headlines, but with silence. Brandt never married, never had children, never bought a house, never sought status, never chased identity. He worked, saved, lived simply, sent money to his brother, built furniture in his spare time, tables, chairs, cabinets. He avoided politics, avoided war talk, avoided ideology, avoided memory. He didn't deny his past. He just didn't live in it. By the 1970s, no one knew he had been a German soldier. By the 1980s, no one asked. By the 1990s, no one cared. History had absorbed him. He became a statistic, not a story, not a narrative, not a lesson, just a man. In 1999, a graduate student from a Pennsylvania university knocked on Lucas Brandt's door. Not a reporter, not a government official, not a soldier, a historian. She was researching something strange. Not battles, not generals, not weapons, unlisted wartime facilities, logistics camps, labor hubs, distribution centers, administrative compounds, places that didn't appear on maps, didn't appear in textbooks, didn't appear in official war histories. She had found one name in an archive: Reynolds Holding Facility, Altoona Sector. No photos, no records, no blueprints. No public documents, just transport logs, labor rosters, payroll sheets, and one repeated name: Brandt, Lucas, trustee, status, Forestry Division, resident approved. She asked him, "Were you a prisoner there?" Brandt answered, "Yes." She asked, "Was it a prison camp?" Brandt paused, then said, "No." She asked, "What was it?" Brandt thought for a long time, then answered, "It was a machine." He explained, "Not a camp for punishment, not a camp for suffering, not a camp for revenge, not a camp for justice. A system, a structure, a logistical solution. Human input to labor output." He said, "They didn't break us. They repurposed us." The historian asked, "Do you hate them for it?" Brandt said, "No." Pause. "I don't know how to hate a system." She asked, "Do you regret staying?" Brandt said, "No." Pause. "I regret that there was nothing left to return to." She asked, "Do you feel American?" Brandt said, "Yes." Pause. "And German?" Pause. "And neither." Brandt walked her to the door. She thanked him. She left. He sat alone in his living room, radio playing softly, coffee on the table, rain on the window. He thought about the truck, the fence, the first meal, the sawmill, the dinner invitation, the letter, the application, the gate, the boarding house, the citizenship oath, all parts of one system. He realized something at the end of his life. War didn't just destroy cities. It restructured people. It dismantled identities, erased belonging, rewrote purpose, reassigned function. He wasn't a hero. He wasn't a victim. He wasn't a villain. He wasn't a symbol. He was a man processed by history. Lucas Brandt died in 2004, quietly, in his sleep, in a small apartment in Altoona. No flags, no ceremonies, no headlines, no obituaries in national papers. His name appeared once more, in a footnote, in a university thesis, under a section titled Invisible Labor Systems of World War II. And that was it. No monument, no memorial, no marker, just data. But the camp remained. Not physically, not structurally, but conceptually. Because Reynolds wasn't unique. There were dozens, hidden, quiet, unlisted, integrated, systems where enemies became workers, prisoners became assets, soldiers became labor, war became logistics. The world remembers the camps of horror, and it should, but it forgets the camps of efficiency, the camps of assimilation, the camps of quiet absorption, places where no one was beaten, no one starved, no one executed. But identities were erased anyway, because sometimes the most powerful prison is the one that doesn't feel like one at all.